Hello everyone, this is Cindy Seidelman, and we are going to do something different when it comes to a top 5. Now, normally I would do top 5 worst or top 5 best, stuff along those lines. But for this top 5, I want to do something different. Um, with Pat Sajak going to be retiring after the end of the current season of Wheel of Fortune, and by current I mean season 51, which debuts, I think, next week. The question becomes, who is the longest tenured host of a game show? Well, I'm going to answer that question, but this, just to be warned, this is for right now. This is the list of the top 5 hosts with the longest tenure on a single show. Now, currently number 1 is obviously Pat Sajak of Wheel of Fortune. He's been hosting the show since 1981 when he replaced Chuck Woolery on NBC Daytime. Even if you don't count NBC Daytime, just the syndicated version, he's hosted it since 1983. And he is far away number 1. Sure, he has slowed down a bit over the course of the past couple of years. I mean, when you had to go in for surgery to remove a few feet of small intestine because of a blockage, old age, and being at the same job to the point of monotony. I mean, it will get to you. But I still think Pat Sajak is one of the best game show hosts to ever do it, even though he has only done one show. But he is so ingrained with that show that it's just unbelievable. I mean, if you ask any person to name a host of Wheel of Fortune besides Pat Sajak, you might get Vanna White, and that is true because she did substitute. You might get some people saying Alex Trebek did it, and that is true as well. Hosted April Fool's show and hosted a week when he was filling in for Chuck Woolery on NBC Daytime. But you're not going to get anybody else. And that just stands to a testament to how good he is at doing Wheel of Fortune. Now, I want to say something about this list entirely before we get to number 2. Now, I am not taking into consideration reality shows. So shows like Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race, stuff like that. And if I were, I will tell you right now, Jeff Probst is 2, Julie Chen Moonves is 3, Phil Keoghan would be 4. This guy would be number 5, and currently, for game shows proper, he's number 2. And number 2 is Drew Carey for The Price is Right. He hosted started in 2007. I mean, this is how TV changed over the past 25 years since Pat Sajak started doing Wheel of Fortune. Jeopardy was on the air. The only game shows that were on the air until Millionaire were Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, and that's it. And The Price is Right. Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy for syndication, and daytime only had The Price is Right until a little bit later on, which we'll get to in a bit. But as it comes through, I know he's polarizing. Some people love him as a host, some people don't. But I just want to say this. We're now getting to a point, it's 2007. We're going to get people who are going to be contestants on the show starting next year that would have grown up watching the show with Drew and nobody else. And to me, that is going to be interesting to see. Because even though I know I'm in my late 30s, I grew up with both Bob and Drew. And I know a lot of fans who watch my videos have grown up with both Bob and Drew. And some more Bob than Drew, and some more Drew than Bob. But it also stands to reason that If he was bad, he wouldn't be on the show anymore. If he was bad, he would have been replaced a long time ago. And to be honest, I'm glad he's still around. I enjoyed him when I went to a taping back in 2018. I know a bunch of fans who went to the tapings for the upcoming season that's going to air in a couple of weeks' time. And Drew is a different beast than Bob. I mean, at the top of the show, you always hear, and here's the star of the show, Bob Barker. Drew is not the star of the show. He wants the star of the show to be the games and the contestants. He is the ultimate... He, to himself, he believes is a conduit who just keeps the show moving, sort of a traffic cop style, and to his credit, he pulls it off well. I know I'm going to get angry fanboy arguments in the comments. Drew Carey, since 2007 when he took over for Bob, to me, he does a good job, and let's move on. Now, here is a shocker. I know people, when I said about daytime we were going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're not getting to that just yet, because this is the one that shocked me. It genuinely shocked me. Because Food Network is a thing, and Chopped is a game show. So, that makes number 3 Ted Allen from Chopped. Chopped started in January 2009. Let's Make a Deal wouldn't come on the air until October. So, Ted Allen gets slotted in number 3. Now, Ted Allen, when it comes to his role on Food Network, he's got to do a lot of stuff as the host of that show. He's got to glean info from the chefs themselves. He's got to glean comments from the judges, asking them all these questions that some people might find monotonous, but once he asks those questions to the experts, who are the judges, he gleans some information on there that is pretty useful. And unlike some other Food Network hosts, Ted handles his business and handles it well. I mean, if I got the numbers right, I think just vanilla Chopped. I'm not talking about Grill Masters, which is separate. I'm talking about just in-studio Chopped and some of its parts. I think we're at almost 600 episodes of Chopped. I mean, I remember back on Discovery Plus, there was a whole channel dedicated to Chopped. They consider a season like 13 episodes, Food Network does. And for them, a season might be 13 weeks, then a small, 6 to 8 week break, and then another batch of 13. According to Discovery Plus, from a little while ago, it was at 53 seasons. So 13 times 53, that's about 665. And I gotta think to myself, that's quite an impressive stay for a cable show. I mean, especially, I think Scripps owns Food Network, so that's a show that doesn't really necessarily follow the, if it was under the Discovery umbrella proper, where they would air 13 episodes, take a break for a year, and do another 13. No, they're going to crank them out, because the ratings are still good, Ted Allen's still good, and the competition is still good. And now we get to number 4, and here is where Wayne Brady comes in, the hosting Let's Make a Deal. Now, this was an interesting debut because this is when we started to see some of the first big shifts in daytime. Because Guiding Light had just been canceled. So there was discussion on what's going to replace it. Is it going to be a talk show? Is it going to be a game show? Turns out it was going to be a game show, and it was going to be either a Joker's Wild revival, dating game revival, a $1 million pyramid revival, which is supposed to be a year-long tournament, or Let's Make a Deal. And Let's Make a Deal went out because, honestly, it's probably the superior daytime format instead of all those that I just listed, and Wayne Brady pulls it off in spades. To me, this is like if you took the best of Wayne Brady from Whose Line Is It Anyway and his time on Broadway, or his time doing his short-lived mediocre talk show. But he was like a classic song and dance man and a very funny improviser, and that is the best thing to have on Let's Make a Deal. And the biggest seal of approval for Wayne Brady is that he was handpicked by Monty Hall himself. So when TV's big dealers giving you the thumbs up saying, "You're in, kid, you're going to do great," and you prove him 1,000,000% right, you're sticking around for a long time. And now this means number 5 is, well, we know Drew's polarizing. Now here's the one who's the most polarizing out of them all, and that's Steve Harvey. He is the feud host for the longest time, and I gotta be honest, I still like him as a host. When we get to... Remember how I said about how kids have grown up with Drew hosting The Price is Right? We're starting to see that with Steve Harvey. Like, you're going to see people grow up who say, I don't remember John O'Hurley or Richard Karn hosting Family Feud. It's going to be Steve Harvey. And Steve Harvey is such an integral aspect of Family Feud nowadays, to where I don't know if the show goes on. I don't know how you continue the show without him. I mean, unless he does something so beyond the pale that it's going to be his show forever and a day. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And it also stands to Steve Harvey's staying power. I mean, when some people saw him doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for that one week and laughing at how embarrassing it was. Well, there's a difference between a quiz show, which is what Millionaire was, a stodgy type of quiz show, even though a little bit exciting, but it was during the clock, so screw it. And this show, which was Family Feud, host-driven show, get the most out of the contestants, they're the stars, and you gotta make them even brighter stars. Steve Harvey did that in spades. And thanks to the producers taking advantage of YouTube and making a lot of season 1 clips go viral, I mean, where do you go from there? It is insane to think about that if Steve Harvey didn't work out, the show's going to be canceled in 2011, 2012. And yet, here we are, 13 years later since he started the show, and he's completely changed the game. So much so that when he got really big, we started to see a lot of people try to ape from Steve Harvey. And some of it was his own original Kings of Comedy brethren. I mean, we had Cedric do a couple of shows, and it didn't work out. We had D.L. Hughley do some of these shows, and didn't work out. And, yeah. So, to say Steve Harvey's longevity has changed the game for game shows in general is really underselling it. It was the popularity of Harvey taking over and those viral moments which made Family Feud into another renaissance. This is a new era of Family Feud. So we'll talk ratings quickly. When Steve Harvey took over, it was at like a 1.6, 1.7. It was, there was grumblings of cancellation because it wasn't getting the ratings that it needed. A couple of years later, thanks to the viral moments, thanks to a change in methodology, to change with the current trends of TV, Family Feud in some weeks is now number one in all of syndication. Not just for game shows, but all of syndication. That included Judge Judy. That included Wheel and Jeopardy. That included The Big Bang Theory when it was in syndication. All of these shows, Family Feud was number one. And that was the top 5 hosts with the longest tenure as of right now, which was at the time of the recording September 5th, 2023. So if you're watching this in 2027, hi, I hope you're having a good day, and I hope we haven't gone to a quagmire-ish hellhole of a country. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Hope you liked this video, and if you did, thumbs up the video, share it in all the socials, leave a comment below, and give us some ideas on what other top 5s you want to see. And if you want to support the channel, just like these wonderful people right here, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. I'm Cindy Saddleman. See you next time. Bye for now.